Welcome to this flight of the Retail Pilot. I'm your host, Ken Pilot, former CEO and current brand advisor, retail tech investor, and board member. I'm thrilled to share with you the insights from some of retail's leaders and legends, as well as my perspective on retail today. This podcast is sponsored by the following. Predict Spring is a global point-of-sale platform live in 22 countries. The platform includes mobile POS, endless aisle, fulfillment, inventory management, and clienteling, creating a true omni experience for customers and associates. Predict Spring powers Suit Supply, Converse, Lovesac, Decium, Janie and Jack, and Bouclair. Breakfast helps brands like HelloFresh, Perfume.com, and QVC increase revenue across Meta and TikTok by creating hundreds of user-generated content video ads. The Breakfast Creator Network, with over 5,000 strong, produces original content that is authentic to each platform and built to drive performance, all done in as little as 3 weeks. Check out breakfast.io. That's BRKFST.io. Welcome to this week's KPOV for week ending November 4th. Amazon has decided to shutter its only 2 clothing stores, open less than a year. This is in line with what they had to do closing their 4-star stores. Amazon, pretty good online, not so good in line. ELF announced an amazing 76% increase in the quarter, top line sales, along with earnings growth. They also took up their guidance for the balance of the year. And finally, the Spark Group, that's the Simon/ABG venture, announced that Simon will be reducing its ownership in Forever 21 down to 33%. Simon will continue to unwind its position in the group over the next couple of years. And now, back to our previously recorded podcast. I'm excited to have Matt Mueller on today's flight of the Retail Pilot. He is the founder and CEO of Not Standard, the leader in premium custom menswear in the United States. Matt has been one of the most pivotal figures behind tech innovation in menswear over the last decade, creating the unique AI-powered style wall and fit app for Not Standard, and holding numerous other patents. He has over 25 years. He has a 25-year record in global business and technology, having worked with firms such as the advisory board company, Gannett, Harvard, and Dubai Holding. Matt, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Ken. Very happy to be here.
Last time we saw each other, excluding this past week, I don't want people to think we're that intimate, but we were supposed to be together on stage in Barcelona, and you had a bit of a circuitous route getting there. I think you missed 3 flights a day. It was crazy.
Yeah, I tried to get from Chicago to Barcelona. United had other plans. It gave me a 24-hour layover in Newark, which I didn't actually have a bag for because it was a day trip to meet you at a conference in Barcelona. Fortunately, our headquarters is in Manhattan, so snagged some stuff off some mannequins, came straight to the conference, which you thankfully moved my speaking engagement back for, and concluded a wonderful 18 hours, couple glasses of rosé wine conference, and back to the States.
What was your key learning there? I think you shared with me what went wrong, but you did have a key takeaway about planning trips.
Yeah, it's been about 10 years since I let anybody book a flight for me. And this one was while I was traveling, and someone said, "That's fine, don't worry, we have the conference info, we can do it." Every bone in my body said no. And I'm sitting here saying, I have to grow. I have to let somebody else do this stuff once in a while. And yeah, that would be the one time they put the wrong name down, middle name instead of my first name. Well, I find myself not allowed on an international flight because it doesn't match my passport.
And there you have it. All right, Matt, let's jump in. Matt, talk to us a little bit about your journey to launching Not Standard.
Sure. I came from, and still come from, a tech background. I had started 4 companies before Not Standard: digital publishing, digital advertising. Funny enough, the software from my second company was an email company. And my co-founders included the older brother of Ed Hallen, who started Klaviyo, because he worked for us at that email company, learned a couple of things, showed us how it's done, is now worth $4 billion. So good for him. Went into healthcare IT and was in Dubai building and starting to run Harvard's hospital and medical school that I'd helped design from an IT perspective. And my wife at the time really wanted to win best dressed couple at the Dubai horse races. I did not dress well. I was an IT guy. So my dress cargo sweatpants were not cutting it in any social situation. So what she did is a little underhanded, here's a Valentine's Day present of a gift certificate for a custom suit in Bur Dubai, which is the old town, be it 20 years old, of Dubai. Had a custom suit made after trying it out and bringing my horrendous, if there's anyone listening from DC, bought at Sims with my father who taught me how to shop. If it's more than 50% off and you recognize the name inside the jacket, then it fits. Not the best way to go.
Wait.
Took these things
I,
in.
wasn't Cy Sims where an educated consumer is our best customer?
Oh my gosh,
Sorry,
really causing some visual reactions in me now. My brother and I, when we were tiny kids, would go around on the floor and try to pick up all of the pins and see who could get the most pins out of there before we were done
it's a
waiting for
fun
my dad to shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my fashion background. So I got into this and it blew my mind a bit because we had been taught all wrong in the States. It was very much here's a name, here's a label. You don't know how something's supposed to fit. And more importantly, you don't know how it's supposed to feel. So having something for the very first time that makes you stand up straight, you completely change your level of confidence. So I went from the worst dressed person to obsessed. And in the process, dragged all of the people who visited me in Dubai, all of my friends there, through the same process. You have to get something made. And it got to the point where they were asking, can you get something made for me and bring it back to the States over holidays? Sure, it can't be that hard to measure, right? So we built a little website. And as it turns out, we actually got kind of good at it. We were able to make it work. We did a Black Friday deal to see how big this website could get. The problem is, we did that Black Friday deal with Groupon in its heyday in Manhattan as two guys just happening to make a couple of suits in Dubai. My co-founder and I, our wives were friends, they our same circle of friends, and it blew up. So imagine what happens when you sell $60,000 worth of $200 suit coupons in 48 hours from Dubai to New York. And then you have to go fit them. So flights were bought, jobs were canceled. We ended up taking funding because it was either have this defunct business chase us around for the rest of our lives or go run this thing. So IT, hospital IT, online custom clothing, a slightly different LinkedIn than most people have.
Well, it's funny. We had Joey on the podcast, co-founder, CEO of Allbirds, and his bio background, I would put that up against yours for being least likely to enter retail. But thank you for sharing that. That's quite a story, quite a journey. So tell us a little bit more, what is not standard? Where are you today? And talk more about the business model. Because often I do get a little bit confused. Is not standard a tech platform or a retail brand or some category number three, which we haven't come up with an acronym for?
We are two companies. It's easier than making a third category with a new acronym. We started online only, making clothes for people in the States out of Dubai. We were selling confidence. We still do that today. As we grew, we got higher end suppliers and we went to higher end garments. And the likelihood that a guy would come into a website, never having bought custom clothing, buy a $3,000 suit sight unseen and trust it, not very high. So we opened stores, and those proved to be fabulously successful. Along the way, every time we ran into a problem, integrate a new mill, get inventory from Loro Piana straight out of Biella. We're in an industry with pencil and paper, fax machines, PDFs of orders, which we were doing in the early days. And we had to build our way out of every problem we had. Fortunately, I had tech teams, a trusted CTO I've known since 13 who'd done other startups with me that I pulled out of retirement, a number of people that were able to build a technology solution hiding behind this clothing brand. So by the time COVID hit, we had about 5 million lines of code. Everything was internal, from our website to what we wrote for some of our vendors. We went to a mill and a supplier in Qingdao, China in 2012. I popped open my laptop, got on Skype with my CTO in Washington, D.C., and our translator took what he was saying through Skype and told their CTO at this factory what to program to connect our two systems. So we wrote their code through a translator. Funny story, this guy does not speak anything but Mandarin, and he has a Roman keyboard and he's programming in English. Something there was definitely a little bit like, come on, you can obviously type very well and I can read your code. So let's put this aside. But that's how we got big enough. That's how we survived where others would die. If you ran into a problem that was eating all of your cogs or causing a ton of returns, we wrote software to get around it. And this was to make us scalable, to make us the largest brand in the world. We're going to knock off Zania. We're going to knock off Canali. We're going to knock off Ralph Lauren, all these old dinosaurs. Let's go get rid of them. Tiny little brand with 8 stores. Yeah, we were a little naive, but we had great technology. So enter COVID. And what happened next was your tiny little brand with 8 stores and a decent website that makes clothing for people who like to go out to eat, get married, or go to the office had a little bit of a problem.
Really?
So just a little. I think a few other people, ran up against that too. We had serendipitously launched virtual appointments in February of 2020. It wasn't because we saw this coming. It was we were trying to scale our salespeople because they could do more virtual appointments in a day than they could do in-person ones. And we got lucky. At the same time, we were also trying to expand to more stores, which was obviously a terrible idea at that time, but it had us on the investment committee docket for our investors to go get some more cash.
So wait
And
1 second. Let me back up
yeah,
for a second before we go into your investors, the strategy. At one point, it sounded as though Not Standard as a brand was focused on elevating itself to the level of competition with brands that you mentioned before, whether it's Ralph Lauren, Xenia, whomever, but a bit of a pivot along the way where now, and we'll go into this later, but I just want to make sure that we capture that moment where at one point you were looking at competing head to head with these brands, and now there's much more of a partnership potential for you with these brands.
that is a very, very good point, Ken. Before COVID, the same truth was there that's there now. We had figured out a way to make custom and made to measure, which is the hardest business you could get into. And I come from hospitals in the Middle East. We found a way to make it work and make it not be the worst part of somebody's day, the hardest business to be in, the highest returns you can find. And so what we found before COVID is we were stealing clients that never did custom before from these bigger brands, and they were sticking with us. 2/3 of them would repeat in the first year. So we saw a shift possible in the entire marketplace. Custom is small. It's always been small because it's always been very personal. We found a way to make it eat into the rest of the market. And so we were going to take that over. The problem before COVID is we could only do it if we employed all of the people ourselves, because it took a little bit of training. Enter technology in COVID. 3 things changed that. We were forced to launch an in-house measuring app that we'd been toying. We'd previously worked with people like TrueFit and other AI companies in 2015 and 16. We have a ton of in-house data we gave them. Could never make it work. You could tell if someone was a medium or a large, but you could never really get as great of a jacket as you're looking for, or even a shirt. So we were forced to try something that we had in the works. And as it turns out, by being forced to do it or go under to do virtual appointments during COVID, we were saved in a way. Launching that app measured better than our own 2 and 3 month trained salespeople on average. The second was You have to have an ordering and a supply chain system that's completely integrated and reliable. We spent 10 years building one. It's very hard to do unless you control the whole thing. And then the third piece was you have to give confidence to the person that's buying and the person that's selling. Clothing is remarkably complicated. Take it from a guy who just wore sweatpants and had to learn this all from scratch. So, telling someone with an hour of training that you're going to know more than the guy sitting across from you about the different collar types on their shirt is tough. So, you have to give them the tools to do it. And we developed a smart screen that walks through the entire customization process for every garment. So someone who hasn't ever done this before, never sold custom before, has a crutch right behind them, like a keynote for an Apple conference that walks you through every little feature if you need it. So those three things meant for the first time, and we developed these for our virtual appointments that kept us alive, we could hire someone, cut them loose with an hour or two of training. And one of our investors, who was also a client, was working with Brooks Brothers in bankruptcy and said, they don't have any people. They don't have a manufacturer anymore. They got rid of their factory. Why don't you go see if you can put this in their stores? You won't need a lot of space. You can make a ton of money here. We agreed. Brooks Brothers also agreed that we would make a ton of money off of their square footage. So in the end, we ended up white labeling and powering an entirely new business for them, but with all of their staff. And that was the critical moment for us that created business number two. We still love all of our clients and we run our store and we run our brand, but we take everything that makes our company work and custom work and all of that software, and we use it to power other brands in their own stores and in Nordstrom across hundreds of garment categories, product types, weird shaped guys, weddings, anything under the sun. So that is now a software business that we've launched, which, as it turns out, if you already have the software, a software business is pretty profitable. So we like it.
So you started this part of your business with Brooks Brothers, then took it to Nordstrom's. I believe you're in 25 Nordstrom's locations going to all.
40 and going to all. We move quick.
You moved, that was last week's news. 40 and going to all. But as you and I discussed, Nordstrom's, who loves your model for some obvious reasons. One, how much inventory do you hold at any point in time? Zero. What does the markdown rate on your product look like? Zero. How your return rate, I think, is less than 1%. It's pretty good. I mean, I think this is actually better than dropship. And I thought dropship was cool because for the same reasons, I don't need inventory. I'm not taking markdowns and the returns aren't necessarily my problem. But you actually make custom product, not only for not standard, that's still an ongoing business and brand, but now Nordstrom's is one of your big partners asking other brands who may want to carry additional sizes, additional styles, additional product to work with Not Standard so that Nordstrom's doesn't have to own the inventory. Is that what's pushing this bigger rollout? And also just talk to us a little bit about the profit model, which I think must be incredible because you don't take up much space in the Nordstrom store.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. The same thing is true for a department store, which is also true for a brand, whether it's Brooks Brothers or a small brand or our own store. 250 square feet is going to be your highest revenue generating per square foot in that entire store. And I'm counting the famed jewelry counters and all of that because we carry no inventory. To do this, you need a screen and an iPad and some books. Everything is digital. We put on try-on garments because it's great for feeling theater.
Just so we're clear, Matt, books, fabric swatch books.
Fabric swatch books. Thank you. Yes. That entire process, since everything is made on demand and delivered in 3 weeks or so, means there's no upfront inventory purchase. There's no concern about collection. And you can have an extraordinarily wide array of everything. And what we're seeing right now is even if somebody doesn't want custom or to wait or hates the selection in custom, they're looking for something on the rack that's already sold out in their size. Voila, that's a customer. You want something in a weird shade. Got it. That's a customer. Once they've come in once, they can repeat over the phone, over the website, over email, in the store. And so for the very first time, these stores and brands that said 250 square feet with no capital and no inventory gets me more revenue. Yes, sign me up now, are realizing the real boost, which is repeat customers. You now have a dedicated group of people that will buy from you because they trust you and they're confident that it's going to fit and they're not going to go someplace else. The likelihood of a guy saying, it's Sunday, I'm going to go try to find a new brand to shop at is about as likely as a guy saying, it's Sunday, I'm going to go see if I can find a new dentist because why not? So there's just not a high switching that goes on the men's side. Women's were a little more niche, but it's the same point. There is no downside to dedicating a little bit of space. And that's what we're doing for stores that are struggling with how to keep sales or increase sales without capital investment, and department stores that don't have any more floor space and are flush and trying to figure out how to keep clients without losing their attention.
I see this business as such an opportunity. I actually created an acronym for you. Bear with me on this one. It's a CASAS model. It's custom suitings as a service. And I really wonder why more larger format stores like a Nordstrom, it could be international stores, and we've talked a bit about this, wouldn't be running to your door and asking you for this kind of help, not only to improve the customer experience, it's obviously profitable, but it also reduces their financial risk of carrying product and buying product that they may not sell. I noticed recently you just had an announcement that you've created this new partner business division, which I thought you were going to bring me on board to run. Clearly, you've moved in a different direction. But I think this sounds very exciting based on your model. Talk to us a little bit more about the intent there. And I guess not standard 2.0.
Well, didn't know you were in the market. So we're doing our 2024 budgeting now. We'll set aside half of our OPEX to be able to afford you.
I just need a suit,
That is
dude.
a nod. Yeah,
I just need a suit.
we have you covered. And the t shirt to wear under it. The model that we've created is one where it doesn't cost us anything to bring these locations up. There's no capital. It's an iPad, it's a screen, it's not a lot. So, what we've been able to do and what we're hoping carries us into the future is we are going to share all the risk, but we also are going to share some reward. We are putting this platform out there for our brand and other brands, and we take a small piece of every sale. In the beginning, it's nothing. Pilot store, very tiny piece of a pilot store.
Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors. Bluecore's software solution turns anonymous online shoppers into known customers and repeat customers. Bluecore enables retailers to personalize and optimize their email, SMS, and site marketing campaigns by delivering targeted and relevant messages based on where every customer is in their journey. Bluecore replaces annoying high-volume messaging with high-value messaging. Customers include Alo Yoga, Neiman Marcus, and Gap. Retech is the leading innovation hub for everything retail technology. Based in the heart of Startup Nation, we have access to a growing network of over 500 tech companies building cutting-edge solutions for the future of retail. Join me and the team at the annual event Retech Disrupt, April 15th to the 17th in Tel Aviv, Israel. See you there and see retail innovation in action. So for any global retailer, and I do have some global reach, I notice
Yeah.
where people are signing in from. I mean, are you ready to take on the international market? How complicated is that? I would think it's a big opportunity for you to replicate this Nordstrom model with anyone globally, from Galeries Lafayette to El Corte Inglés to John Lewis in the UK. I mean, wouldn't they be great customers?
Absolutely. We started this company in Dubai. we had to make the software support right to left Arabic when we first started this thing. So, internationalization of what we're doing is not hard. We still are that DNA. We are launching a pilot store with a very large retail brand in Ginza in Tokyo in a quarter and a half. That the trouble there isn't, can you support someone half a world away? In fact, it's closer to our manufacturers in a lot of cases. The trouble is, who's doing the support? Because we're finding as we build this, like you said, these businesses are running to us and saying, why not try it? It doesn't cost anything and the upside is huge. On the flip side, traditionally, this is the nightmare corner of everyone's business. We have to offer custom for our high end clients. I just hope I don't get a call in the middle of the night when something goes wrong. So that's what we're fighting. People that never want to do more of the nightmare. When we show them, look, there's 100 stores that are running this today, and we have one person doing all of the support for 100 stores. It's pretty powerful. And that person still has all their hair. So in this world, there are better solutions. We are getting people to start banging on the door, but we have no sales team. We have no formal software division until last week. So breaking that off from the business was a nod to, let's try this crazy thing that this software could be doing. Meanwhile, we're a clothing brand. So, how do these two live together? And the answer is they don't. But some of the people internally really gravitated towards it. And those people have been responsible for launching 100 stores, training 1,000 people. And those people have taken it upon themselves. We are looking for some sales help to anybody out there listening to, and are leveraging Ken, if we can, to go find those other brands that want to give this a shot. This is a drug dealer model. It's usually free to try, and then we will take the rest of your life.
Break up, if you would, the contribution of the business today from online to not standard operated stores or not standard product. And then let's call it partners that you just described, like whether it's a Nordstrom or Brooks Brothers. How does the business look today? And in 5 years, what will it look like?
Great question. This all started about 18 months ago with the first Brooks Brothers store, and about 12 months ago when we started the rollout for Nordstrom. And you fast forward to today, we are covering about $25 million in annual orders, GMV. Half of that is coming through the platform, and half of that is our stores. And that's in 1 year. So we've built a pretty massive business almost overnight. That to us translates to about 25% of our revenue our dollars comes from software or these wholesale installations. And that's just now. Of the 40 locations at Nordstrom, almost 3/4 of those have come live in the last 6 months. So these ramp really fast. And next year, it's going to be about half of our sales. 5 years from now, the world looks like a different place. From a numbers perspective, we aren't focusing on opening more of our stores. Mind you, our average four-wall EBITDA for this year in our own stores is 32%.
That's amazing. Just for those of you out there, typically retail brands will pro forma a store to probably be north of 15%, maybe 20. 20 is like very successful. When you get over 30, that gets into like the factory outlet business space with a good brand. So 32%, that's amazing, Matt. Congrats.
Thank you. It's been a target that we've long chased. I just never thought when we get here, we'd say, nah, no more stores. Let's go do this other thing instead. Because we get the same out of a Nordstrom location. And those are no hiring, little bit of training, no risk, no capital. So until we run out of stores in the world to go into, I don't know if we're going to go back to our own.
Yeah.
But I'll leave you with this crazy idea. if we have all of these brands in their own stores, which we're launching 3 new brands next quarter in their own company stores, we are bringing dozens of brands online in department stores. Then we have this platform where you can buy just about anything custom. And as long as you're measured once, it works on any other brand. It's portable to any other store and any other garment type. Get measured for a shirt by Peter Millar in Nordstrom. Use that to buy an overcoat from Zania in Zania and Tyson's Corner store. So at that point, there's nothing to stop us from being the custom department store. And with no inventory requirement and far fewer square footage, it becomes a very interesting proposition. There's got to be a better name out there. I will take all suggestions, but we end up with our own custom shop. Sounds like where you trick out a pickup truck. So please, I'm not the naming guy. But that's where we are in 5 years.
How much have you raised to date outside capital to support the business, and who is your lead investor?
That is the seedy underside of what it takes to do what we've done. Going from online to testing stores to learning about retail, all the while building an integrated supply chain, and then having this technology that other much larger people are still a couple of generations behind, has cost us about $35 million in funding to get here. And this year will be our first break even year in our history. Would have been a few years ago, worldwide pandemic notwithstanding, but we're very happy with how that ended up. So that is the cost of learning all of these mistakes or learning all of these lessons. And the lead investor that really got us over this hump is a group called Provenance. Anthony Cho, the former CIO at Brentwood Capital, spun off with an idea that there are great brands that don't warrant a $100 million check. They might want a $15 million check. We were one of those checks. And he saw in our clients an absurd amount of loyalty and a very, very high-end purchase behavior that was profitable on the first purchase. So wanted to take that out. He saw the four-wall EBITDA that we've just gotten to. So a very, very wise man who's taught us a lot along the way.
I've known him